Hi there, I am Callie from Sunny Ceramics, and today I'm going to show you how I attach my handles to my mugs. So I start when the mug is leather hard. So this is a mug I threw on the wheel yesterday, and it has dried some. I trimmed it, so you can see that it's already done trimming. I would not put a handle on before you've trimmed your mug. And I'm going to attach a handle that I pulled this morning. So I pulled my handles off the hump and I attach them as is. You can, there's a lot of different methods for handles, but you can attach them and pull them from the mug. I haven't ventured into that yet. So the tools I'm going to use, so I have two left. This is leather hard. This is a little bit more wet than leather hard, but still able to hold its shape, but gives me a little more flexibility to mold it the way I want. I lost a whole batch of mugs earlier this week because I let it dry too much. The humidity has been up and down here in the south. It's spring and the top got much more dry than the bottom. They dried unevenly and the handles cracked off. So don't do that. Pay attention to your pottery and put your handles on at the right time, which is leather hard. So the tools I'm using today to attach my handles are, I have first just a bucket of water, a knife tool, a paintbrush, this wooden rib style tool, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, my scoring tool, it's got clay on it, and then my sponge. So first things first, I'm going to decide which handle I want to attach. I have this kind of thin one. I always pull a couple extras just to have options. Or I have this thicker one. I think I'm going to go with the thicker one. This one's a little too thin for the size of this mug, in my opinion. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if you can see from where it was kind of drying on that rolling pin, there's some uneven spots here. So I'm just going to use my finger and smooth it out so it looks nice. All right, so now you can see it's just a little bit nicer in terms of its smoothness, no bumpy places or anything like that. And then I'm just going to kind of form it the way I want. The next thing I do is, so I lay it on the table here, have my shape that I like. Take my knife and I just add a little beveled edge. I like the way it makes it easier to attach. I like the way I kind of like my mugs handles to be attached so they're coming out of the mug right there. And I like my handle to go all the way to the bottom of the mug. So everyone has a different preference. Yours may be totally different. I also like a big handle. So I like a handle that you can hold with your whole hand. You know, some people like 2 fingers. It's totally personal preference. You are the artist, you decide, but this is what I do. So I'm going to take my knife tool and I'm going to cut this little bevel in. It's also a little thick up here. I don't like how thick it is. So I'm going to cut that bevel in. And I'm going to do it on the bottom as well. And I've got a little extra there that I'm going to smooth out. So you can see how I cut that. I just cut those little edges off there so that it will attach nice and cleanly. So the next thing I'm going to do is score. So take your scoring tool and score on the top and bottom. You can choose the spot. So I like to look for if there's any imperfections. This one seems fine, but my last one had like a little nick here. So I just went ahead and decided, well, let's just cover that up. Let's score right there. I'm scoring, I'm gonna do up and down and side to side and really just rough that clay up. And then choose a place on the bottom, just line it up. I do it all by eye, I don't measure anything. Same with my handles, I don't measure, I just pull them, cut them by eye and hope that works. And I've gotten pretty consistent over the years. So you can measure if you like, but I don't like to. All right, so I have that scored. And then I'm gonna score this as well. And you probably heard the term slip and score. You can use slip to attach handles. That's probably the best way to do it. And same thing here, I'm doing up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side, roughing it up. Today I'm just using water. Sometimes I use slip. Sometimes I save a little bit of my old throwing water, which is pretty much the same thing, and use that to attach it. But just water will work fine as well if that's all you have on hand. So you can see I've got this scored and this scored. Now, next step is attach. So I am going to get a little bit of water and drop it here and drop it here. I'm only going to do it on the mug. I don't put it on the handle. I find that it can make it too soggy. It can make it, yeah, just a little bit harder to handle. I've got a hair there. So then I'm going to just take this, kind of hold my mug. I don't want to warp the shape of my mug, but it's pretty leather hard, so it's a good consistency to not warp. And just push that in, push that in. I'm going to pull that down, push, 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 get the shape. I'm just kind of smoothing it out there, so that's pushed in. Then I'm going to watch where I added that score on the bottom, make sure it looks lined up here, and I'm going to push that into the bottom and push that bottom of that clay off. And you'll see, so it's attached, but it's not super smooth. It's not super pretty yet. So that's the next piece. So the next thing you want to look at is your shape. So instead of just looking at the shape of the curve of the handle, look at this I'm trying to make a good space, but look at the negative space here and the shape you're getting there, and see if you like that. That can almost be more informative than looking at the curve. And so I don't really like this quite yet, so I'm gonna adjust, trying to get a better curve here, better curve, and you can kind of play with that until you're happy. So to me, that looks pretty good. That is looking kind of almost like an ear on the mug shape. And so now that everything's the shape I want, I'm just gonna use my fingers and smooth out some of those joins. I like to look and make sure that it's kind of looking even. I want both sides to look the same. And you can be creative here too. Some people, leave big lines in so you can see where it was attached. Some people smooth it all out. I've done both before, but today, and most of the time I like it to look kind of just like it was organically always part of the shape and it never got added. So having everything really smooth, and this one kind of has it, but yeah. So I use this tool a lot, this kind of wooden tool, to kind of pull the clay, if you can see, and just smooth it all out, make it look like it was all seamless. There's no join line. I go on the top a little bit, just pushing the clay into the mug from the handle. Okay. So you can see that is pretty smooth. I haven't done the bottom. I'm gonna do the bottom. And this one's pretty simple. It's just pulling it. But I almost like it to look like it was, I use my heel of my hand to kind of push that in, almost like it just grew up out of the bottom of the mug here. So when you set it down, it's not impeding sitting the mug down, but it is coming out of the bottom. That's what I like. So now that I've pushed that clay how I want it, the next thing I want to do is just smooth the handle out and smooth the joins out. So again, I'm just taking my paintbrush with some water, and I'm just going to kind of paint it with water, make it smooth. I've got like a little rough edge right there on the handle. I'm going to do this at the top too, and making sure that curve here isn't have any, make sure it looks like the way I want the curve to look and not, boxy or anything. I want it to look pretty organic because I have this curved shape of the mug too. So I want to make sure the handle shape and the mug go together. They complement each other. So now that I've got that all smoothed out for the most part, the last thing I'm going to do is take my sponge, wet it, not super wet, just a wet sponge. And I'm just going to smooth all of it out with the sponge. Make sure there's no lines anywhere that I don't like. Smooth out the handle itself, go under here a little bit as much as I can. If you remember, I did smoothed it out before so I didn't have to push on the underside too much once it was attached. Make sure that is looking even. And that all looks good to me. So then you can look at that shape, and then you just need to let it dry. So a lot of times I'll let it dry upside down so it can kind of let gravity do its thing and hold that curve in the way I want it to, so it doesn't slump down. I'm not going to pull it, but you know, it could slump down depending on how wet it is. Or you can just dry it face up, whatever you decide. And that's it. So you can see that it's all joined. The last thing I do is add my stamp. And once these are fully dry, then there'll be time to put them in the kiln for their bisque fire. And you can see my stamp. And that is how I add my handles to my mugs.